I had taken my older sister's place and married the crown prince of the underworld, pepper spray in hand, and ready to perish together with him, if necessary. The little did I know that what I received in return was only the gentlest, most devoted love the world had to offer. The Ye family villa was suffocating under an atmosphere so thick and oppressive it was hard to breathe. In the opulent living room, the bitter, heart-rending sobs of Ye Qiu, my biological older sister, echoed in waves of resentment. Dad. Mom, I beg you both, Gu Ximing and I have already promised ourselves to each other. He's about to graduate, his future is so bright. I can't marry into the Jiang family. They're from the underworld, they're demons who devour people alive. Ye Qiu knelt on the carpet, eyes swollen, hands clutching desperately at the hem of Yi Bang's trousers. Our worthless father. Z shook her off coldly and roared, "Shut your mouth. What can that penniless brat ever amount to? The Jiang family wields power that reaches the heavens. This marriage was decided long ago. You will marry whether you like it or not." Damn. Wang, the woman who had slithered through the door right after our biological mother passed away, covered her mouth and sneered, voice dripping venom. "Oh dear, Qiu, don't be so ungrateful. If you obediently climb into that wedding car, your frail old grandmother will receive the finest medicine. But if you dare run away, who knows if anyone will pay for that old hag's hospital bills tomorrow." I stood at the corner of the staircase, fists clenched so tightly my nails bit into my palms. Ever since Mother died, life for my sister and me had been pure hell. Ziyu was gentle and kind by nature, while I, Ye Xia, might look like a harmless little bookworm on the outside. But inside I had a sharp tongue and a mind that worked at lightning speed, always acting as her ultimate shield. This time they had struck right at our weak spot, grandmother. Everyone in high society knew the rumors about the Jiang family. They ran their underground empire with ruthless cruelty. Jiang Ye, the crown prince of the Jiang family, was said to sleep with a machete in his arms. The marrying my sister into that household was no different from throwing her into a slaughterhouse. That night I carried a cup of warm milk into Ye Qiu's room. She sat by the window, clutching tightly to the photo of her and Gu Ximing. "Here, drink some," I said, pressing the cup into her hands. Ye Qiu's eyes filled with tears. "Xia, what am I supposed to do? I can't abandon Ximing, but I can't ignore Grandma either. Sleep. Everything will be fine tomorrow," I soothed. Trusting me completely, she obediently drained the cup. 3 minutes later the sedative took effect and her head drooped into deep sleep. I carefully tucked the blanket around her. "Rest easy, sister. Hold Gu Ximing's hand tight. Leave this den of tigers and wolves to me." I pulled the diamond-encrusted wedding gown from the closet. Normally I only solved advanced math problems, but today I found myself muttering pressure point diagrams for paralyzing the human body. Taking a deep breath, I tucked a mini electric baton into the layers of my petticoat, flipped a super-strength pepper spray canister into the inner pocket at my hip, and finally secured a solid steel ballpoint pen that could shatter glass, along with a hair bun. Once everything was in place, I lowered the deep red veil over my head. The whoever dares lay a hand on me will be sent flying off this planet. The next morning the wedding procession's horns blared outside the villa. "Madam," Wang glided over, dabbing fake tears with a handkerchief. She reached out to lift my veil. "Qiu dear, when you marry into another family, you must know your place." "Mac." I swung my hand and knocked her arm away hard. Beneath the veil my lips curled. "Madam Wang, those crow's feet of yours are about to be pinched to death. I'm getting married. Aren't you thrilled?" "The look, the powder from your face is raining all over my shoes." He froze, not recognizing my voice through the thick veil, and only snorted coldly from behind. "Deep, talking tough, you insolent girl. Once you're in the Jiang household, let's see how many days you last." I didn't bother replying. Lifting my skirts, I strode into the wedding car. The procession headed straight for the Jiang estate. Dozens of black-suited bodyguards stood ramrods straight along the path, murderous aura rolling off them in waves. I was led directly into the main hall. Old Madame Jiang sat in the seat of honor, Father Jiang and Mother Jiang flanking her. A maid stepped forward with tea and helped remove my veil. The moment the red fabric fell, Mother Jiang's brows furrowed. She stared at my face, then at the photo on the table. Mother, this doesn't seem to be the eldest Ye daughter. This girl looks exactly like the younger sister Ye Xia, the one who's always topping charts and making headlines. Me hand slipped to my hip, thumb flicking the safety on the pepper spray. Damn it, exposed. If they flip the table, I'll kidnap the old lady and carve a bloody path out. But old Madame Jiang only narrowed her eyes, then slammed the table with a resounding bang and declared cheerfully, "What does it matter? Older or younger sister, they're both Ye daughters. That boy of mine has been single so long the cobwebs are showing." With his temper and a face like a debt collector's, having someone willing to step foot in this house is a blessing from 70 generations of ancestors. Don't even mention switching to the younger sister. Even if Yi Bang brought a sweet potato wearing a veil, that boy would have to swallow it. Take her up to the bridal chamber at once. Father Jiang nodded. Mother is absolutely right. As long as it's female and breathing, it's fine. Mother Jiang smiled kindly at me. Daughter-in-law, are you hungry? Zai hot pot, or bun jiao mam tom? I'll have the maids bring it up. I stood frozen in bewilderment as the maid led me upstairs. What the hell is going on? The notorious Underworld family is this desperate for a daughter-in-law. The bridal chamber was done in oppressive black and red. I sat cross-legged on the bed, eyes darting like Jiang Lu hunting hidden cameras. Click. The door opened. Jiang Ye stepped in wearing a loosely buttoned black shirt. Zi's Adam's apple was alluring. His face angular and cold as the living king of hell. The temperature in the room seemed to plummet. Zi frowned at my bristling posture, said nothing, and walked slowly toward me 3 meters, 2 meters, 1 meter. Zi suddenly reached out. Don't even think about touching me. Lightning fast, I whipped out the pepper spray, aimed straight at his face, and pressed. Hiss cough, damn it. Jiang Ye staggered back, clutching his face, coughing violently. Crash. The glass in his hand shattered on the floor. I grabbed the electric baton, ready to strike, then froze. On the floor lay not a gun or dagger, but broken crystal and a puddle of spilled warm milk. Jiang Ye leaned against the wall, eyes red and streaming, snot and tears everywhere from the spray. The dark CIO image lay in ruins. He gritted his teeth. That burns like hell. So he had only come to bring me warm milk. I quickly hid the spray behind my back and swallowed. Well, I thought Underworld wedding night law required a martial arts test against assassins. Jiang Ye stumbled into the bathroom. The historic wedding night passed to the sound of rushing water and pepper spray fumes. The next morning I descended the stairs braced for a death sentence. But the scene below left me speechless. Father-in-law wore a conical hat, humming as he shoveled soil for potted plants. The mutated orchid at your place sprouted new leaves today. The mother-in-law, in tight workout clothes, was doing aerial yoga handstands on the ceiling. The grandmother-in-law hugged her iPad, binge-watching idol dramas, and cursing the male lead. My God, this male lead is as dumb as an ox. He even believes the villainess's fake fall. Let the dog bite him. Where is the murderous aura? Where are the lackeys? Suddenly, the whole family erupted. Old Madame Jiang showed signs of fatigue and shortness of breath. Father and Mother Jiang rushed to support her. Father-in-law scolded, I told you, Mother, you're too old for the ghost of happiness. Your blood pressure will spike again. But the moment they heard my footsteps, the atmosphere changed. Old Madame Jiang removed her glasses and turned. In daylight, without makeup, she saw my bare face clearly and froze, iPad dropping with a clack. Heavens above! He shoved everything aside and lunged, grabbing my shoulders. That pepper spray temper, that face, this is definitely a Qi's granddaughter. Stunned. A Qi was my grandmother's childhood name. Old Madame Jiang burst into tears. She was my closest bosom friend. Swore, by the mountains and seas, that our grandchildren would marry. Ye Bang sent Qiu over. I turned a blind eye because I thought she was also Qi's granddaughter, But I never expected you to come in her place. It's truly heaven's will. Wait, grandmother-in-law frowned. If we're so close, why was your family terrified of us like tigers, spreading rumors we eat people without spitting out bones? Father-in-law walked in carrying a shovel and laughed. More than 10 years ago, Jiang Ye's grandfather had some reputation. But our family washed our hands of the underworld long ago and opened a supermarket chain instead. Last year, your father even received a district commendation for being a model cultured family. Mother-in-law, still in banana pose, added, but rich families get pestered by relatives asking favors. Other families kept pushing arranged marriages. It was annoying. So we decided to expose ourselves a bit, hiring fierce-looking bodyguards at the gate to scare everyone off. Our whole family just wants a simple salted fish life, child. So this tiger's den and wolf's mouth was actually a circus. What's all the noise this morning? Jiang Ye came downstairs, eyes still slightly swollen. He was about to speak coldly to save face, but old Madame Jiang swung her cane and pointed straight at him. You brat, did you come down to forfeit your life? Apologize to your wife right now. The last night you walked in with the lights off, looking like the king of hell demanding repayment. Getting sprayed blind served you right. Father-in-law chimed in, a real man yields to his wife. This afternoon your punishment is cutting the grass. Mother-in-law slipped a black card into my hand. Ye Xia, be good. Later. Mother will take you to the mall to max this out, as compensation for last night's mental damage. I looked at the card, then at Jiang Ye's stiff, aggrieved face, and smirked, blinking at him. Husband, mother's right. Next time, don't try to scare me. Okay. If I accidentally switch to the electric baton, I might ruin your tool for the rest of your life. Dang. Ye took a deep breath, tilted his head back, muttered about his misfortune, and slunk off to the kitchen. His status here is lower than a puppy's. At lunch, cracking sunflower seeds, I got a call from Madame Wang. I figured they wanted to gloat. I put it on speaker. Hello, Qiu dear. Madame Wang's voice dripped smugness. Last night, did the crown prince tear off any of your flesh? I crunched seeds loudly. Disappointed. I didn't lose a single piece, and this morning I even made the crown prince cry. And change how you address me. This is Ye Xia, the other end screamed. Xia. Why are you there? I'm busy being the young madam of the Jiang family. Tell my father to wash his neck clean. If he touches one hair on my grandmother's head, I'll have a steamroller flatten the entire Ye family. Father-in-law, mopping nearby, immediately roared in support. Hello, bodyguards. Bring 20 tons of cement, prepare to fill the river and hide the body, for my daughter-in-law. Madam Wang dropped the phone in terror and hung up. I tossed mine aside and stretched. Up. I met Jiang Ye's deep eyes as he leaned against the doorframe, coffee in hand, mouth curved in interest. It seems I married a wild cat that knows how to scratch. I rested my chin on my hand. A wild cat's scratches hurt, you know. Young Master Jiang, protect that handsome face of yours carefully. After a few days I realized the pseudo-underworld Jiang family was missing one piece. Jiang Xingxing, Jiang Ye's biological younger sister, a genuine little troublemaker in her final year of high school. That afternoon I lounged on the sofa with a face mask, munching green grapes, when the front door burst open. A girl, with a backpack, glaring red highlighted hair, chewing gum, and blowing a bubble that popped loudly, walked in. Seeing me, Xingxing tilted her chin, gaze appraising. So you're Ye Xia, the one who took her sister's place. You look ordinary, not worthy of my brother at all. I slowly peeled off the mask, patted it in, and smirked. Then, according to you, what would make me worthy? Dyeing my hair red like a traffic light. Xingxing choked and slammed her backpack on the table. Don't think grandmother backing you makes you queen. In this house I'm the queen. I heard you're good at studying, probably bought your grades. Z pulled a crumpled Olympic math paper from her bag and slapped it down. Solve this and I'll call you sister-in-law. Fail and pack your bags. Father-in-law, polishing a vase, clicked his tongue. Aya, Xingxing's at it again. Professors can't even solve these. How could Ye Xia? I said nothing, just glanced over the equations. My competitive blood boiled. Daring to show off in front of an expert, little brat. I pulled the steel pen from my hair bun, drew the paper close. Start the timer. Sing Sing snorted, and set her phone's stopwatch. The room fell silent except for pen on paper. My brain calculated 3 long methods, but I chose the most ruthless, concise one outside the high school syllabus, to crush her arrogance completely. Exactly 3 minutes 15 seconds later I tossed the pen. Clack, done. Answer is 4 root 3. Second step. Wee's theorem. Third, extended Taylor formula. Need me to explain from the start? Sing Sing's eyes widened. Z. Snatched the paper, checked the forum on her phone, eyes growing rounder and rounder. How can you solve it faster than the sample answer? Are you using cheat codes? Stood. Arms crossed, looking down at the stunned little panther. Now my turn to set conditions. I tapped the table, voice cold with absolute authority. From tomorrow, 5 comprehensive papers every day. Score, above 20%, and you eat dinner. If you don't finish, I glanced upstairs at her room filled with limited edition Anime models. I'll throw your one-piece cabinet, photocard collection, and Gundam display into the alley trash. Dare, Sing Sing shrieked like a slaughtered pig. Try me, I smiled amicably. Mother-in-law emerged with a fruit platter and clapped. Well done. Finally someone who can handle this brat. Ye Xia. Be good later, mother will give you the key to her model room. From that day the Jiang villa echoed with young Miss Jiang's resentful screams. Under my military management, Sing Sing transformed from a student who only napped in class into someone who, at the sight of me, automatically pulled out books and studied like an ox plowing. A month later her mock exam scores shot to the school's top 10. From then on her gaze changed from dislike to extreme admiration. She followed me everywhere. Sister-in-law is the best. Sister-in-law. How do you solve this physics problem? Tamed the little troublemaker. I prepared to deal with a certain arrogant crown prince. Though the Jiangs doted on me excessively, my relationship with Jiang Ye remained strictly well water, not mixing with river water. The one evening I went downstairs for a drink and found him at the mini-bar, brows furrowed, tie loosened, laptop showing flashing data streams. Late, cast shadows on his angular face, revealing exhaustion and frustration. Seeing me, he spoke coldly. Ye Xia, let me be clear, the old lady forced this marriage because of that ancient pact. I can't disobey her, but don't delude yourself. I'm not interested in a little girl like you. And I have no time to play house with romance. Just fulfill your role as young Madame Jiang. You'll lack nothing in money, but don't expect affection. Hearing that domineering CIO tone straight from a novel, I nearly spat out my water. I wiped my mouth and nodded. Rest assured, young Master Jiang. I'm a busy student too, no time to pump affection into you. But, is your family's company about to go bankrupt? Your face is wrinkled like a dried date. Jiang Ye shot me a sharp glare. The supermarket supply system has a security breach. This quarter's report shows an unexplained deficit. The I-tier team's been at it 3 days and found nothing. What do you understand? I raised an eyebrow. Don't understand. Don't forget this sister is a natural sciences major who once joined the national programming team. I set my glass down, rolled up my sleeves, walked around the bar, pushed his chair aside, move over. Let me see. What are you doing? He tried to stop me, but my hands were already on the keyboard. 10 fingers flew at lightning speed. Danced across the screen. I opened the cross-ledger system and ran an algorithm I'd written freshman year to scan for discrepancies. Look carefully. I pointed to a hidden line deep in the code. The loophole isn't in output, it's in the main warehouse input source. Someone planted a tiny worm, skimming %% off every incoming order. Too small per transaction to flag. But accumulated it created the deficit. I typed a few lines to patch it and traced the worm planter's IP pair. Less than 20 minutes total. Enter clack. Dusted my hands, flipped my hair, done. The thief's IP pair is inside your company. Go catch them. Remember to treat me to hot pot as payment. The crown prince watched me walk upstairs, leaving him rooted. He looked at the now perfect screen, then at my retreating back. The corner of the living king of hell's mouth twitched. His gaze shifted from cold to shock to a not-so-light stirring. From that night, Jiang Ye's attitude changed with ridiculous speed. The man who had declared no interest in little girls suddenly appeared wherever I was pretending to stroll the courtyard, while I read, or sitting with a newspaper watching me tutor Sing Sing. But I discovered something. Jiang Ye loved watching me eat. Though strong, sharp-tongued, and quick to curse, I had one fatal weakness: passion for sweets. Every time I ate strawberry cake or tiramisu, my prickly exterior melted, eyes squinted, cheeks puffed, legs swinging in bliss. The one afternoon I hugged a box of macarons, eating while scrolling drama. Jiang Ye sat opposite, pretending to scroll but staring at me for 15 full minutes. Something on my face. I looked up, still chewing, crumbs at my mouth corner. Jiang Ye, startled, coughed in embarrassment, reached across, and gently wiped the crumbs with his warm thumb. Eating like a child, he murmured, eyes darkening, Adam's apple bobbing. My heart thumped heavily. The air turned strangely ambiguous. Jiang Ye, it seems he's starting to fall. He's being psychologically manipulated by my cuteness. The next day, the Jiang refrigerator had a new compartment stocked with the city's most expensive pastries, shipped from France by private jet. The payer, of course, was someone surnamed Jiang Ye. The crown prince's silent affection kept fermenting, but his pride stayed hard as stone. That day I sat in Jiang Ye's study borrowing his computer for my final project drawings. He sat on the nearby sofa pretending to read, eyes occasionally drifting to me. Click, a dark blue velvet box with gold trim landed lightly on the keyboard before me. Rose and looked up. What's this? Jiang Ye averted his gaze, cleared his throat, voice awkward. Picked it up on the road. Saw it, brought it back convenient. I opened the box, inside. A diamond-encrusted fountain pen, white gold nib, world-renowned luxury logo, limited edition global warranty card, only 5 existed. I blinked at the pen, then at the man pretending not to care. Which road drops things this expensive, husband? Tomorrow take me there, I'll bring a sack and keep picking. If we keep this up, we can quit supermarkets and switch to trash picking enough to buy another villa. Jiang Ye's mouth twitched violently. His last shred of tycoon pride shattered. He sighed helplessly, stood, walked behind me. His large warm hand rested on my head, ruffling the hair I'd just styled. He leaned down, breath brushing my ear, voice low and warm, with undisguised pampering. Fool, I picked it up while swiping the black card. My heart thumped loudly. His clean, faint scent enveloped me. It's over. They say in this life you're done for. Resisting the underworld was easy. Resisting a cool, adorable handsome man is completely outside a top scholar's coverage. A month and a half had passed since I stepped into that pitch-black wedding car at the Ye Villa. The air now felt festive. Under sparkling crystal lights, Ye Bang, in shiny silk suit, champagne in hand, mingled with guests. Adam, Wang, the vicious stepmother, wore a tight fiery red gown that looked ready to burst. A long-incised pearl necklace around her neck. Congratulations, Director Ye. I heard your eldest daughter is marrying again to Director Zhang. Right, double happiness. Adam, Wang covered her mouth with false laughter. Oh my, our Qiu is so fortunate. The director Zhang may be over 60, but he's very kind. Marrying into that family makes her a noble lady immediately. Indeed, they were celebrating the firm belief that the stubborn, sharp-tongued daughter Ye Xia had been tormented to death by the underworld crown prince, without a trace. With me gone, they had casually locked my sister in a sealed room, using grandmother's life to force her to marry a violent 65-year-old in exchange for project land. On the second floor, Ye Qiu sat locked behind a door, thin dress, knees hugged, eyes swollen from crying. Phone confiscated, unable to contact Gu Ximing, not knowing if grandmother or I lived or died. Despair wrapped the small girl. The Ye family didn't know. While the King of Hell hadn't arrived yet, the King of Hell's wife was already on her way to visit. The outside the Ye Villa gates, the night sky suddenly blazed with headlights of a black SUV convoy speeding in. Lead Rolls-Royce Phantom screeched to a halt at the iron gate, arrogant and oppressive boom. The intricately carved gates were kicked open without mercy by two massive bodyguards the size of water tanks. The deafening sound jolted every guest in the courtyard. Music died instantly. Nearly 30 black-suited men, with sunglasses and Bluetooth earpieces, formed two long lines from gate to entrance, murderous aura rolling off them. Guests' limbs turned to jelly, glasses crashing. Ye Bang stammered, who are you? Do you know this is the Ye family? No one answered. The bodyguards stood at attention. If you listened closely, you could hear them muttering through earpieces. Say, after we finish beating them, swing by the Third Branch supermarket, porks 50% off. They're fighting over it like crazy. These assassins were actually night shift security from the Jiang supermarket chain, mobilized for show. The Rolls-Royce door opened. Long legs in custom-tailored trousers stepped out. Zing. Ye appeared in a long black trench coat, face like carved stone. His narrow phoenix eyes, sharp as blades, swept the lawn. The pressure of the so-called Underworld crown prince nearly made Ye Bang wet himself. He spared no one a glance, turned, opened a black umbrella against the drizzling rain, then extended his other hand to gently help a girl from the car. I placed my hand on Jiang Ye's and stepped out. Night, I wore a high-slit wine red velvet dress beneath a luxurious fox fur coat, hair in large voluminous curls, lips vivid red, a half-smile full of killing intent. The moment they saw my face, Madame Wang's pupils shrank to peppercorn size. He staggered back, stepped on her own heel, and fell flat on the grass. Ghost, Ye Xia, why are you still alive? He pointed, voice cracking with horror. Ye Bang turned to stone, face drained of color. He looked at me radiant, intact, radiating wealth, then at the fierce god Jiang Ye, carefully holding an umbrella over me. Bang's straw-filled brain completely went on strike. I leisurely linked arms with Jiang Ye, my 10-centimeter stiletto heels clicking sharply against the marble, and strode straight into the main hall, sweeping past the trembling guests with regal poise. Wrong, Aunt Wang, seeing me still breathing has disappointed you so much you fell flat on your back. I smiled sweetly, but my eyes were cold enough to pierce bone. I am not only alive, I am thriving, eating well, sleeping soundly, and I even made a special trip home to see exactly what you were celebrating so loudly. Stairs on the second floor. Ye Qiu had already heard the commotion and was pounding on her locked door, screaming. The sound of my sister's heart-wrenching cries ignited a wildfire of fury inside me. I turned to Ye Bang, the smile vanishing from my lips. Where is the key to my sister's room? I demanded, each word sharp as a blade. Ye Bang tried to muster the dignity of a father, but his voice trembled. Xiu, how dare you speak to me like that? I'm your father. I have the right to marry off your sister to whomever I choose. Zing. Yi pulled me behind him and wrapped a protective arm around my waist. He lazily drew out a handkerchief and carefully wiped each of my fingers, even though I hadn't touched Ye Bang. Then, he lifted his dark, gleaming eyes to the man shaking like a leaf in front of us. His voice was low, yet carried a bone-chilling frost. Hitting scum like you would only dirty my wife's hands. He gave a slight tilt of his chin to the head bodyguard standing at attention, toothpick in mouth. In a tone straight out of a Hollywood action film, he issued the order coldly. My wife has delicate hands. The bodyguards handle it. Kick down the second-floor door, and bring my sister-in-law down. Yes, for him break one of his legs for me. The moment the words left his mouth, two supermarket bodyguards charged forward, with enthusiastic zeal. Kicked the second-floor door clean off its hinges. The other slammed Ye Bang to the floor. Agonized howls echoed through the villa. Adam. Wang was so terrified she wet herself on the spot, and crawled into a corner, clutching her head. Xiu was carried downstairs. The moment she saw me, she threw herself into my arms, sobbing uncontrollably. Ye Xia, you're okay, as long as you're okay, I patted her back gently. it's all right, I'm here now. From today on, no one will ever dare bully you again. I turned and pulled a thick stack of documents from my handbag, flinging them straight into Ye Bang's face as he lay pinned to the ground. His eyes widened in horror. This is Mother's original will. It clearly states that 20% of the company's shares, 2 villas, and the trust fund all belong to my sister and me. You dared to collude with a lawyer to forge documents and transfer everything to Madame Wang and her daughter. Do you think the law is dead? Ye Bang blustered. You're lying. Everything is mine. Jiang Ye stood beside me, voice lazy, fake or real, I don't care. Tomorrow the Jiang Group's legal team will sue you. Or he leaned down slightly, a cold smile playing on his lips. If you'd rather not go to court, I can always use the Jiang family's methods. I hear concrete mixed with human bones makes very sturdy bridge foundations. The bodyguards immediately tapped their rubber batons against their palms in perfect sync, the sound crisp and menacing. With a single threat laced with mafia flair, Ye Bang's soul nearly fled his body. He scrambled for the pen I had thrown, signing the asset transfer documents with shaking hands, tears and snot streaming down his face. And where is my grandmother? I asked, pressing the sharp heel of my stiletto lightly against Madame Wang's shoulder. Trembling, she pointed toward the west suburb nursing home, swearing she hadn't harmed the old woman. That very night, Jiang Ye and I led a convoy straight to the rundown, damp west suburb nursing home to bring grandmother home. My heart clenched when I saw her lying on a narrow bed, frail and sallow. But the moment she was carried into the Jiang family estate, the atmosphere turned miraculously warm. The old Madame Jiang, upon hearing her dearest friend had been rescued, rushing out at 2 a.m, still wearing her silk nightcap and leaning on her cane. The sound of it, tapping against the ground echoing, all the way to the gate. The 2 white-haired elderly women embraced the moment they saw each other, crying until their voices grew hoarse. Father Jiang and Mother Jiang rolled up their sleeves and personally prepared the most comfortable room on the first floor. They even summoned the family doctor for a full checkup. Seeing grandmother smile with peace of mind, I turned to Jiang Ye. Under the hallway lights, he leaned against the wall, the corner of his mouth lifting in a gentle smile. My heart skipped a beat. Once grandmother was settled, the next priority was my sister. The following day I brought Ye Qiu to Gu Ximing's cramped rental room. Gu Ximing, the talented but impoverished scholar my sister loved deeply, was working 3 jobs at once. Delivering packages in the morning, waiting tables in the afternoon, and staying up late developing a medical AI software he had nurtured for years. When he saw Ye Qiu safe and sound, the thin young man pulled her into a tight embrace and cried like a child. I'm sorry I'm useless, I couldn't protect you. Gu Ximing buried his face in her shoulder. I cleared my throat and stepped inside, dragging along the still stone-faced Jiang Ye. What's with the crying? What good does a grown man's tears do? I pulled out a chair and sat down. Gu Ximing, show your brother-in-law that AI software demo of yours. Jiang Ye raised an eyebrow at me. My brother-in-law shot him a glare. What are you looking at? He's not your husband. The Jiang Ye obediently shut up under my scolding and took Gu Ximing's laptop, scrolling through the code. First his gaze was indifferent, but within 5 minutes his phoenix eyes lit up with the sharp insight of a seasoned investor. Ye set the laptop down, pulled a checkbook from his vest pocket, signed it with a flourish, and tore the check off, tossing it onto the table. Project has huge potential, but the data structure still has a few loopholes that need optimizing. I'll invest at the angel round for 30% equity. Bring the documents to Jiang Group tomorrow for disbursement. My engineering team will support you. Gu Ximing stared at the number on the check, so stunned he couldn't speak. 15 million yuan, a sum he had never even dared to dream of. Jiang Ye stood up, lightly dusting off his clothes, and walked over to Gu Ximing. He leaned down slightly, his tone suddenly shifting into full underworld intimidation mode. But I have one condition. Since you're taking my money, you'd better use every ounce of your life to protect my sister-in-law. If you let Ye Qiu shed even one more tear, I can't guarantee you'll still have a life left to write code. Zhu Siming's body trembled, but his eyes were resolute. He gripped Ye Qiu's hand tightly. Thank you, President Jiang. Rest assured I'll stake my life on giving Qiu happiness. As we left the rental room, I elbowed Jiang Ye and laughed. You really committed to the act. Threatening to take his life. Why didn't you just expose that your family runs supermarkets? Jiang Ye took my hand, interlacing our fingers, and snorted. The expose ourselves and lose face in front of him. He needs to feel some pressure, so he'll work harder to earn money and support your sister. My wife is only allowed to be spoiled by me. The blunt flirtation made my face flush all the way to my ears. With massive capital from the Jiang Group and Gu Ximing's own brilliance, the Ye Qiu technology AI project took off like a tiger with wings. When the software officially launched, it solved complex medical image analysis problems for numerous major hospitals. The company went public, its stock price skyrocketed, and Gu Ximing transformed overnight from a struggling poor student into a rising tech billionaire, gracing the cover of business magazines. The first thing he did after the company stabilized was buy the most expensive penthouse in the city and kneel, with a diamond ring, to propose to Ye Qiu in front of the entire Yang family. Their wedding was held on the most luxurious private island. Every elite tycoon and tech mogul attended. Ye Qiu wore the wedding gown I had personally designed and sketched, radiant and beautiful, like a princess stepping out of a fairy tale. Zhu Siming wore a white suit, his eyes filled with tender affection for the girl who had weathered every storm with him. The grandmother sat in a wheelchair pushed by old Madame Jiang. The two elderly women in matching red ouzi smiled so widely their mouths couldn't close. Below the stage, the Jiang family occupied the most prestigious VIP seats. Father Jiang was enthusiastically filming vlogs of his adopted daughter's wedding. The mother Jiang dabbed at her eyes with a handkerchief, moved to tears. Jiang Xing ran around with a plastic bag, collecting wedding candies to take home. I leaned my head against Jiang Ye's shoulder and sighed softly. My sister's wedding is so romantic. The looking back at mine shoved into a wedding car, then spraying pepper spray in my husband's eyes on our wedding night. I feel a little shortchanged. Yi wrapped an arm around my waist, resting his chin on top of my head, his voice low and warm. Then, let's do it again, next year, wife. We'll hold it at a castle in France. Invite all our business partners, all our partners, and I'll have rose petals flown in from the airport, all the way to our bedroom. I laughed and burrowed into his chest, my heart overflowing with sweetness. The while we basked in happiness, in a rundown corner of the city, two figures stood shivering under the drizzling rain: Ye Bang and Madame Wang. After returning all the assets to us, Ye Bang's company collapsed under investigation for fraud and tax evasion. The couple had sold their last small house to pay debts, and now lived in a cramped rental. Xiao, their spoiled half-sister, had run off with an online scammer after squandering their remaining money and vanished without a trace. They stood before the glass window of an appliance store, staring up at the television broadcasting live entertainment news. On screen was the extravagant wedding of Ye Qiu and the tech genius Gu Ximing. The camera panned across the front row, capturing the glamorous image of second daughter, Ye Xia, laughing happily beside the powerful crown prince of the Jiang family. Madame Wang collapsed to the wet ground, crying soundlessly. Zi Bang clutched his graying hair, eyes filled with overwhelming regret. But it was all far too late. The curtain had finally fallen on the farce of these greedy people. My sister's wedding took place on a windy autumn night, romantic and overflowing with white roses. Watching Ye Qiu, tears in her eyes, exchange rings with Gu Ximing, the heavy stone that had weighed on my heart for so long finally lifted. Me kind, long-suffering sister had at last found her safe harbor. Overjoyed, I secretly drank far too many glasses of red wine. My usually sharp, ice-cold female lead brain began to short-circuit. When the dance music started, I staggered around the banquet hall with a wine glass, smiling foolishly at everyone like an idiot. Ye was chatting with business partners in a corner. When he turned around, his wife was nowhere to be found. Brows furrowed. He strode off to search and finally caught me trying to climb onto the stage, to snatch the MC's microphone and sing someone else's wife. Ye Xia, how much have you drunk? Jiang Ye's voice dropped, 3 parts anger and 7 parts helplessness. Squinted at the tall man in front of me and poked his nose. She handsome guy, you look familiar. Aunt, to have a drink with this young lady. The corner of Jiang Ye's mouth twitched violently. Without another word, he hoisted me over his shoulder like a sack of rice and strode straight to the parking lot under the stunned gazes of the guests. All the way back to the Jiang Villa, I kept causing trouble in the car, demanding the window be rolled down for fresh air one moment, then grabbing Jiang Ye's tie and yanking it down the next. The usually cold and arrogant crown prince was tormented until his hair was a mess and his forehead glistened with sweat. The moment we stepped into the living room, he dropped me onto the soft sofa. He loosened the buttons of his shirt with a heavy sigh and turned to get me some hangover remedy. But my operating system had completely shut down all defensive protocols, leaving only clingy instincts. I sprang up with all my strength and threw myself at him, wrapping my arms tightly around his waist and pulling him down onto the sofa with me. Ye startled, bracing his hands on either side of me so he wouldn't crush me. His eyes darkened, breathing growing heavy. Ye Xia, be good and lie still. Don't start a fire. Squinted, cheeks flushed from the wine, and cupped his angular face with both hands. Staring straight into those deep eyes, I pouted, Jiang Ye, do you actually like me? Jiang Ye froze, his Adam's apple bobbing. His voice was hoarse. You're drunk, answer me. I slapped his cheek lightly, then leaned in and whispered against his ear, in a soft yet threatening tone dripping with mafia flair. If you don't like me, I'll chop off your little Peter. The air in the room suddenly froze. Jiang Ye looked down at the girl beneath him. A fire that could no longer be extinguished igniting in his eyes. The restraint he had maintained for months shattered completely. This is what you asked for, he growled low in his throat, then lowered his head and captured my lips fiercely. That night, while autumn rain pattered outside, the living room blazed with an explosive inferno of passion. Every barrier, every hesitation between the underworld crown prince and the substitute bride was burned to ashes. The next morning, harsh sunlight filtered through the curtains and woke me. My head pounded like it had been split by an axe. But the deeper ache was the full-body soreness, as if I'd been run over by a steamroller. I struggled to open my eyes and was greeted by Jiang Ye's bare, muscular chest. His strong arm was still wrapped tightly around my waist. Memories of last night flooded back like a slow-motion film from me snatching the microphone and his tie all the way to that bold declaration. Oh my God, heavens, earth, ghosts, gods, and every net in existence, I clutched my head and bit my lip to keep from screaming. A girl who had always prided herself on my IQ and clear-headedness had gotten drunk and directly assaulted seduced the crown prince. At Jiang Ye's peacefully sleeping, flawlessly handsome face, panic surged to its peak. I couldn't face him when he woke up. My pride wouldn't allow it. Moving at lightning speed. I carefully removed Jiang Ye's arm, gathered my scattered clothes from the floor, and dressed in a rush. I grabbed a sticky note from the table and scribbled crookedly. Last night I was drunk and acted crazy. Pretend it never happened, like being bitten by a dog. We won't see each other again. I slapped the note onto Jiang Ye's forehead, grabbed my high heels, and tiptoed out of the Jiang estate like a thief. My only destination was the small house I had just bought for grandmother, in the suburbs, the perfect escape. 2 hours later, Jiang Ye slowly opened his eyes. The empty space beside him made him frown. He reached up, peeled off the sticky note, and read the crooked handwriting. His face instantly turned as black as the bottom of a pot. Bitten by a dog, pretend it never happened. We're legally married, and she dares to say it was a dog bite. Jiang Ye ground his teeth and crumpled the note in his fist. A murderous aura rolled off him in waves, exactly matching the underworld reputation outsiders whispered about. He dressed quickly and descended the stairs with killing intent. Father Jiang, watering plants in the garden, saw his son storming out and called, "Hey, where's Ye Xia? Come eat breakfast." He ran away. Jiang Ye replied coldly, snatching the car keys from the table. "I'm going to catch my wife. Prepare yourselves for the storm, mother and father." With that, he floored the accelerator of his sports car and shot out of the estate gates. At grandmother's house, I was happily munching on a crisp apple while watching TV and recounting Ye Qiu's wedding to her. Suddenly, the doorbell rang urgently. "I'll get it." I ran to the door, but before I could see who was outside, a powerful hand grabbed my wrist, yanked me into the empty hallway, and pinned me against the wall. Startled, I looked up. Jiang Ye's enlarged face was right in front of mine. His eyes were pitch black, caging me between his arms. "Finished eating, and now you're running away after wiping your mouth," he growled, dangerous breath fanning across my face. "Duduvai, what are you talking about? Last night was an accident. The alcohol made me do it, not me." I tried to push his rock-hard chest away, but failed. Jiang Ye suddenly laughed coldly, then lowered his head and nipped lightly at my earlobe, making me shiver violently. "An accident. Then who said they'd castrate me if I didn't like them? Ye Xia, you started the fire and now you refuse to put it out. Do you think Jiang Ye is easy to bully?" His hand gently stroked my still sore waist, voice turning low and coaxing. "Let's go home, wife, you can't escape." Faced with this relentless attack of both tenderness and dominance, my armor completely crumbled. In the end, I could only obediently let him lead me by the hand, like a little rabbit back to our tiger's den. From that day on, there was no longer any distance between us. Our fake marriage became real sweet enough to cause diabetes. 2 months had passed since that fateful drunken night. My life gradually returned to its rhythm. No longer needing to deal with my stepfamily, I poured all my passion into architectural design. I registered for a national green building design competition. To complete my competition model, I often stayed up late, face buried in drawings on the computer screen. Jiang Ye, worried about me, brought warm milk to my study every night and forced me to sleep on time. If I refused, he would simply scoop me up and toss me onto the bed. One weekend afternoon, I was sitting in the living room refining a 3D drawing, while Jiang Xing sat beside me cracking sunflower seeds and watching cartoons. From the kitchen came the sizzling sound of Michelin starred salmon with garlic butter. Suddenly, my stomach churned with violent nausea. I covered my mouth, threw down the stylus, and dashed straight to the first-floor bathroom, retching violently. Jiang Xing panicked. She hurled her bag of sunflower seeds across the room and jumped up screaming, "Ah, help! Sister-in-law is vomiting blood." Sister-in-law got food poisoning from the fried fish. Father Jiang and Mother Jiang, strolling in the garden, heard the commotion and rushed in, faces pale. Jiang Xing's hands shook as she dialed the Jiang family doctor. "Dr. Chen, bring the ambulance with oxygen right now. Sister-in-law is vomiting green and yellow bile. She's about to collapse." I leaned against the sink and staggered out, face greenish, waving weakly. I'm fine, probably just stayed up too late and messed up my digestion." But less than 15 minutes later, a full medical team of 3 doctors and nurses, carrying heavy equipment cases, appeared at the Jiang estate. With missile-like speed, I was laid on the sofa while they drew blood, took pulse, and measured blood pressure under the family's extreme tension. Dr. Chen, an experienced physician in his 50s, pushed up his glasses after reviewing the results. Zi's expression shifted from tense to a kind smile. "Congratulations, old Madam Jiang, Master Jiang, Madam Jiang, young Madam Jiang is not poisoned. She is 8 weeks pregnant." The announcement exploded like an atomic bomb in the living room. The entire Jiang family froze for 10 seconds, then erupted in joyful chaos. The old Madam Jiang was so excited she dropped her cane and clasped her hands, muttering thanks to Buddha. 7 and Buddha have blessed us. Thanks to Qi, the Jiang family finally has an heir. Father Jiang jumped up and hugged Mother Jiang, laughing so loudly it echoed through the garden. Jiang Xing stared at my flat stomach with her mouth agape. I am going to be an aunt. Sister-in-law is amazing good at math and good at having babies. I lay on the sofa, hand resting on my belly, mind blank. Pregnant just like that. The Crown Prince's productivity is truly no joke. The moment Jiang Ye received Jiang Xing's call that his wife was pregnant, he cancelled the most important board meeting of the year. Leaving dozens of shareholders gaping in the conference room, he sped home like a man possessed. The moment he entered, the usually cold and decisive CIO stumbled toward me on unsteady legs. He dropped to one knee beside the sofa, gripping my hand tightly, eyes red-rimmed, voice trembling. Ye Xia, we have a child. Smiled and nodded. Seeing his unprecedented, flustered expression filled my heart with boundless happiness. From that second onward, the image of the ruthless underworld crown prince officially collapsed. Jiang Ye transformed into a full-time nutritionist and nanny. He bought dozens of prenatal education books and studied them through the night. His study overflowed with charts measuring calories, vitamins, and minerals. This is too cooling, don't eat it. This dish has too much seasoning, steam it for her instead. He commanded the household chefs with such strictness that even a fly passing through had to have its bacterial count measured. He even hired a dedicated driver for the bulletproof car to ferry me around, even though I only wanted to walk to the alley entrance for bubble tea. Not only Jiang Ye but the entire Jiang family fell into a state of collective obsession over the baby in my belly. The next morning, old Madame Jiang donned a blue monastic robe, mobilized a team of bodyguards, and ascended the largest temple in the city to offer incense and donate a massive sum for temple restoration. Father and Mother Jiang brought lawyers and a stack of property deeds, slamming them on the table in front of me. Ye Xia. These are 10 lakeside villas and 5% of the supermarket chain shares. Other has put everything in the baby's name as a meeting gift from Grandpa and Grandma. I held the heavy stack of deeds, laughing and crying at the same time. This child wasn't even fully formed yet, and had already become the richest little billionaire in the city. My life now was like that of a queen doted upon to the heavens, eating, sleeping, being pampered by Jiang Ye every night, and steadily completing my competition designs. While my life bloomed with roses, in a dark corner the dregs of society still refused to stay quiet. Madame Wang and Ye Qiu, the half-sister, after the family's bankruptcy and debt collection, had been forced to live in hiding in a squalid slum. Madame Wang's ex-husband was under investigation. She washed dishes for a living. Ye Qiu, used to luxury, now wore second-hand clothes scavenged from trash heaps. The one day Ye Qiu happened to see my image on the news. A noble lady with a 3-month baby bump, shielded by her husband, preparing to attend the National Architectural Design Award ceremony. Betty jealousy ignited into raging hatred. Why does she get to live in silk and satin, while we starve here? Other, I can't accept this. I have to destroy her. I want her ruined and disgraced. Ye Qiu screamed hysterically. The mother and daughter used their last savings to bribe a janitor at the event venue. They planned to spill slippery oil in the backstage corridor, reserved for contestants, and stage a fake accident to knock me down and eliminate the thorn in their eyes. On the night of the awards ceremony, the convention center glittered with lights. I wore a light evening gown, one hand protectively over my slightly rounded belly, about to enter. However, Ye Qiu and Madame Wang had no idea that Jiang Ye and brother-in-law Gu Ximing, now tech tycoons, had placed my safety at the highest level of confidentiality. The venue's security camera system had been infiltrated and monitored by Gu Ximing's AI software for 3 days. Any stranger with a criminal record or suspicious behavior was flagged. The moment the bribed janitor pulled out the oil drum to spill it, he was instantly gagged, slammed to the ground, and dragged away by 2 Jiang bodyguards in under 5 seconds. At the same time, Madame Wang and Ye Qiu, hiding in the emergency exit waiting to watch the show, were suddenly surrounded by a team of black-suited men. The exit door swung open. Jiang Ye stood there, phoenix eyes radiating murderous intent that reached the sky. Zhu Siming stood beside him, tablet in hand, displaying the clear recording of the mother and daughter's bribery transaction. You two really are tired of living. Jiang Ye's voice was icy, each word like frost from the underworld. Madame Wang and Ye Qiu turned deathly pale and dropped to their knees, begging, President Jiang, please spare us. Zi were momentarily blinded. Gu Seiming adjusted his glasses, voice professional and emotionless. Blinded. The intentional assault on a pregnant woman, conspiracy to murder, plus evidence of fraudulently seizing the Ye family assets that I just recovered from an old hard drive, enough to send both of you to prison for at least 15 years. The no leniency. Jiang Ye waved his hand. Lise, who had been waiting outside, immediately entered, cuffed the vicious mother and daughter, and dragged them into a police van. From beginning to end I remained unaware, busy shining on stage. The grievances of the Ye family had finally come to a complete end. And now, the grand prize winner of this year's National Green Architecture Design Competition, designer Ye Xia, with her work Breath of the Wind. Thunderous applause shook the hall. I walked onto the stage, tears in my eyes, accepting the sparkling crystal trophy. Under the dazzling camera flashes, I looked down at the front row. Grandmother was crying with pride. Sister Ye Qiu and brother-in-law Gu Seiming smiled and waved. Father Jiang, Mother Jiang, and Jiang Xingxing held up a banner shouting my name. And right in the center stood Jiang Ye in a black suit that accentuated his regal bearing. His eyes, looking at me, held nothing but pride and deep affection. No trace remained of the cold, ruthless underworld crown prince he once was. I took the microphone, voice trembling with happiness. Thank you to the judges. Thank you to my family, and especially thank my husband, who has always been my strongest support, forcing me to drink milk every night and enduring my most unreasonable moments. This trophy is dedicated to the little life growing inside me. Jiang Ye smiled from the audience, his eyes shining brighter than the stars. A few months later, a clear, healthy baby's cry rang out in the VIP delivery room of the city's best hospital. I gave birth to a chubby baby boy with dark, sparkling eyes exactly like his father's. The entire Jiang family welcomed the new member with overwhelming joy. Yi now fumbled while holding the tiny red infant, yet his milk preparing and diaper changing skills were already more proficient than mine. The one radiant sunset, I leaned my head against Jiang Ye's shoulder on the villa balcony, watching our son sleeping soundly in his crib as the autumn breeze gently played with our hair. "See," I called softly, looking up at his angular face. "Do you regret it? The being forced by grandmother to marry a substitute bride who sprayed pepper spray in your eyes on our wedding night?" Jiang Ye burst into laughter, the warm sound vibrating against my left chest. He lowered his head and pressed a deep kiss to my forehead, arms tightening around his entire world. "The biggest regret of my life is not finding you earlier, so I could love you sooner. You are the greatest gift heaven has ever given." Jiang Ye. I smiled radiantly and closed my eyes, basking in the warmth of this man. The Who said stepping into an underworld family was stepping into death's door, stepping into the Jiang family. Ye Xia not only turned the tables and eliminated the scum, but also harvested a doting family, a soaring career, and a love more beautiful than any fairy tale.